everyone, welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. Well, guys, I don't know how much better this game show, this trivia show can be after last episode with Mike and AJ, that going down to the wire. Our first ever game with us using a sixth player. It's never happened before. If you guys didn't listen, I highly suggest you go out and listen to that episode to find out who won. But, you know, returning for season 2 of this is a guy who's been on the podcast a couple times. That is Mr. Pat Andrews. And then facing off against Pat today is a guy who's making his debut on the podcast, Hank. How are you doing today, Hank?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I appreciate you reaching out saying, hey, you got any room for anybody else? And I was like, yeah, sure do, sir. I really appreciate you just saying, hey, I'll test my knowledge of Union trivia knowledge. And
yeah, see how it goes.
Pat, it's always a pleasure to have you onto the show, and I appreciate you saying, well, if nobody else wants to come back, I'll come back. So I appreciate you for coming back, Pat.
glad to be back. If there was an open spot, I was glad to take it.
Absolutely. But like I said, Hank, this is your first time on the podcast, and anytime I've had somebody brand new coming onto the podcast, I've had them explain how they got into the Union. So for everybody that's listening, Hank, do you want to explain how you became a fan of the Philadelphia Union?
Sure, yeah. I kind of fell in love with soccer when I was a freshman in college. And so, playing FIFA with my roommates, that expanded my worldview of soccer. And so, I started looking for a team, and, right away the Union got announced like 6 months later. And so, that was just good timing. And, I was a Philly sports fan anyway. So just kind of took it from there, just dove right in. And, it's 10 years later, here we are.
Absolutely. And, I'm glad you said that you're a Philly fan, because I feel like, it's slowly getting that way. It's still a long way to go, but I feel like so many Philly sports, they're 4 for 4, and everybody says, oh, be 5 for 5, I guess 6 for 6, 7 for 7. I mean, you can include the fusion and the wings if you want.
Sure.
But, just so many people say, yep, it's soccer. I'm not going to pay attention to soccer. And especially last year, just watching how bad Philly sports were. Last year, the Eagles were pretty bad. The 76ers were bad. The Flyers were bad. And the Union, to win their first ever trophy in team history, they've got a good competitive team. For whatever reason, just people are like, oh, it's soccer. Like, I say this all the time on my show that I remember I got into soccer in 2007, and I was like, okay, let me check out MLS, because David Beckham came over to LA Galaxy, and from 2008 to what soccer is now, it's like night and day difference in MLS. And for people to say, yeah, I'm not going to give that a chance because, it's soccer, like people just aren't doing themselves any favor. So yeah, it's awesome to hear that you got in by FIFA. I feel like it's a lot of people too, playing video games. Let's just check it out and everything. Enjoy FIFA.
For
you
sure.
learn players, and it's definitely awesome. Like, okay, let me take the next step, and I have a local team right here in Philadelphia, and here we are, like you said, 10 years later. So I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. We'll see how. Yeah, it's been a fun ride for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the last 2 years with the Union, finally having success, and like I said, getting the first trophy in team history in 2020, and then 2019. We all know first playoff win. So hopefully the Union can keep building on that, and everything that's happened in the past. Hopefully. We don't have any more of that. Hopefully that's just lost in our memory, even though it's not. But hopefully with Ernst Tanner, we just keep seeing this team go higher and higher, and hopefully that happens in 2021. And speaking of things of the past, your guys' category for this episode is the 2016 Philadelphia Union season. So remember, like I've said the previous episodes, the questions will deal with the regular season only unless I say otherwise. And like I said, Pat, you've been on this show before, and I figured, why don't we start with you in 5 and 25 so Hank can see, how you do. So for everybody that's listening, 5 and 25 is where the contestants have 25 seconds to answer 5 questions. If they don't know an answer, they can say skip, and if time permits, then we can go back to that. The clock starts after I read the first question. Each question will be worth 2 points each. And like I said, Pat, we're going to go with you. So are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go, Pat. Your first question is, who led the Union in minutes played in 2016?
Keegan Rosenberg.
Who led the Union in assists in 16?
Oh, shoot. Assist. Pass.
Who wore number 10 for the Union?
Barnetta.
Who did the Union lose to in the playoffs?
The TFC.
How many yellow cards did Barnetta have?
8.
And who led the Union in assist?
Herbert.
Holy cow, Pat! That was super impressive, man. I mean, other than the first one, and you did say Herbert, you were right with that, but the timer already went off, so you just missed
I
that.
knew it was someone I didn't like.
Yeah, yeah. Fabian Herbers, he led the team in assists that year with 7. The question before that was how many yellow cards did Barnetta have in 2016? He had 8 on the season, which you got that. Yeah, I mean, what a guess. Who did the Union lose to in the 2016 playoffs? You're right, that was Toronto FC. They lost that score 3-1, unfortunately. Who wore number 10 for the Union in 2016? It is indeed Tranquilo Barnetta. And the first question I asked you was, who led the Union in minutes played in 2013? That would be Keegan Rosenberry with 3,060 minutes played.
Every minute.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and still kind of miss Keegan Rosenberry, but seeing Nate Harriel, hopefully, the Union see a lot in him, and hopefully he can take the reins from Ray Gaddis and really push him. And I know last season in Bizo, when he got his chances, at times he looked promising going forward. On the left, he wasn't that great, just because he's a natural right-footed player, but not bad at all. Like I said, Pat, if that timer hadn't went off, you would have went a perfect 5 for 5 and gave you 10 points. But still 8 for 10 is not bad at all. So, Hank, that's a lot of pressure on you now.
That's tough, yeah.
Well, that took a lot of guess.
Yeah, it was. But hey, don't tell people that. Just say you have it all stored in your head, Pat. So, but are you ready, Hank?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Your first question starts when the timer goes off. Here we go. It says, who led the Union in games started in 2016?
Chris Bonius.
Who led the Union in goals in 2016?
Chris Bonius.
Who wore number 11 for the Union?
I'm sorry? Oh, 11. Edu.
Who scored the only Union goal in 16? A playoff goal.
Barnetta.
How many red cards did Josh Yarrow have?
3.
And wow, so you won off. It was 2. It was he close. He didn't get 3. The challenges he had in 2016. You probably would have thought he would have had more than 2, but he saw 2 yellow cards, led the team in yellow cards that season. The question before that I asked was, who scored the Union's only goal in the 2016 playoff loss? That would be Ali Bedoya. And the third question I asked you, who wore number 11 for the Union in 2016? It would be Ali Bedoya. He led the Union in goals in 2013. You're right, it is Chris Pontius. He had 12 goals on the season. And who led the Union in games started in 2016? That would be Mr. Keegan Rosenberry. He went 34 for 34. Pontius wasn't too far off, but not bad, Hank. You got on the board. So your first time got on the board, you're not going to get stumped. And so 2 points, you'll take it, I'm sure. So we're going to stick with it, though, with true and false, which this is self-explanatory. I'll ask you guys 5 true and false questions each. You guys aren't timed on this. Each question will be worth 1 point each. And Hank, like I said, we'll stick with you here. So your first question, Hank, is true or false? The Union had 2 players represent them at the 2016 MLS All-Star Game.
We'll go false.
It was true, actually. So you had Keegan Rosenberry and Andre Blake.
Okay.
Question number 2 for you, Hank. True or false? Andre Blake led all of MLS in clean sheets.
I'll go false again.
You're right, it is false. So Andre Blake, as we all know, won MLS Goalkeeper of the Year. And when I was looking at this, I was like, I know Andre Blake had a ton of saves, saved our butts a lot of times in 2016. I was like, is he up there in clean sheets or not? He was not. He had 6 on the year, but New York Pink Owls goalkeeper Luis Robles had 11 on the season, led MLS in clean sheets. But, it doesn't matter because Andre Blake won Goalkeeper of the Year that season. So, yep, you got that one right. Question number 3, true or false? Keegan Rosenberry led all of MLS in minutes played.
True.
It is true. Yeah. Like I said, he had 3,060 minutes. The next closest was Michael Parkhurst for Columbus Crew. He had 3,036 minutes played. And Keegan did indeed lead all of MLS in minutes played. Question number 4, though, for you, Hank. True or false? The Union had 2 players on the 2016 roster that were born in Jamaica.
We'll go true on that.
It was false, actually. Andrew Blake was the only one born in Jamaica. I know the Union have had a couple Jamaicans on their team, so it's like, okay, when did the Union get Corey Burke in there? And I think that was the 2018, maybe 2017. But yeah, Andre Blake was the lone Jamaican on the team in 2016. And your last question, though, Hank, true or false? Fabinho led all Union defenders in assists.
I'll go true on that.
Yeah. Good job. A little bit hesitant. Yeah, he had 6 assists on the season as the lone left back. And not bad at all, Hank. You picked up some more points. You went 3 for 5 there, so that gives you a total points of 5 so far. And, you still got a little bit of work to do. So hopefully, in your case, Pat doesn't run away like he did with the last category. So, Pat, we're going to go with you. And your first question is true or false? Chris Pontius scored the first and last goal for the Union in the regular season.
True.
Yeah, it is true. He scored the first goal against Columbus, and the Union scored last against New York Red Bulls in 2016 because the last 2 games of the season, they finished on a 3-game losing streak. In the last 2 games, they didn't even score a single goal. So, yeah, I mean, they go 3 games losing and still to make their way in the playoffs. They were limping in the playoffs, but I guess with what we'd seen in years prior, we were just excited to see the team in the playoffs. And like we said earlier, they lost 3-1 to Toronto in the playoffs. But your next question, though, is true or false? The Union went 8 straight games without a loss.
False.
That was actually true. So the streak started in April on the 16th, and it lasted until June 1st. And then the next game they played New York City and lost, and it snapped their 8-game streak. Here we go. Question number 3 for you, though. True or false? The Union finished the season with a positive win-loss record.
Say that again?
The Union finished the season with more wins than losses.
We got into the playoffs, so I'm going to go true.
That was actually false. They were tied on wins and losses on the season, so they were 500. Question number 4. True or false? The Union had 3 players on their 2016 roster that were born in Brazil.
How many?
3.
True.
That would actually be false. So you had
4?
Yep. They did indeed.
We had a lot of Brazilians in.
We did in 2016. We had Anderson Canseio, who did not see any time at all on the field for the Union. We obviously had El Senior, we had Fabinho, and we had Leo Fernandez. But Leo, yes, sir. And the last question for you, though, Pat, is true or false? Chris Pontius scored a goal in every month for the Union.
I'm going to go with false.
Yeah, it is false. He scored in every single month for the Union but May, which is pretty impressive to score a goal in every single month but one. And Chris Pontius was a big reason why the Union did get into the playoffs that season. Like I said earlier, too, Andre Blake had a lot of crucial saves, but for Pontius to score 12 goals on the season, huge player for us, especially I think in his first game against Columbus, he scored a brace for the Union. And love Chris Pontius, and he did his time here. But before we get into the last category here, which is name the Union player. And by the way, you went 2 for 5 there, Pat, which gives you 10 points, and Hank, you have 5, so it's still anybody's game. But it is going to come thick and fast. It depends on who gets this next question to kind of wrap this thing up. But before we get into that category, I've been talking about, the Union, they're supposed to announce a center back signing. A center back from Scotland whose name is Stuart Finley. He's 25 years old, a left-footed center back. Jonathan Tannenwald said, multiple people had confirmed this to them. But, before we were recording this episode, I was thinking, I was like, it kind of sucks, though. And Mike and AJ and I, we were talking about this last episode, like, we want more of a flashier player. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But then the more and more I thought about that, I'm like, I'm seeing all these teams in MLS sign attacking players. You look at Orlando City, they just signed Pato, the Brazilian striker who's 31 years old. I think they just signed a Netherlands winger who's 22, 23 years old. And I'm like, okay, well, the Union haven't yet to sign anybody yet. And yeah, I think I'm starting to get a little bit bitter. I'm like, okay, it's cool that we get a center back signing, but I think we can all agree we want a flashier player. So just, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Are you guys concerned at all that the Union haven't announced anything yet? Like I said, we know they're getting a center back. Jonathan Tannenwald confirmed it. But I feel like myself and just every other fan out there want attacking players. So just what are your guys' thoughts? And I'll go with you first, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we haven't seen the best of Sergio Santos, and Kasper Spelko could have a better season than he did last year. But we also need something. whether it's an attacking midfielder, a winger, or an out-and-out striker. But yeah, everyone wants a flashy, sexy goal scorer that's going to draw, that could score 15, 20 goals. That's what we all want. But yeah, I trust Ernst Tanner, so we'll see.
Yeah, you can argue, okay, Andrew Rutten. Yeah, look at Andrew Rutten, right? I've not talked about that at all on this podcast. I think he has like 3 goals in 2 games or something over in Austria right now. It's like
he's getting goals, he's getting assists.
Yeah, and he couldn't do anything for us. The only thing that he did for us was save a goal against Chicago, which was crucial for us to win the Supporters Shield. So I thank Andrew Rutten for that. But at the same time, too, I hate on Marco Fabian a lot because I expected so much for him. I'm like, yeah, his time here for the Union sucked other than that game-winning playoff goal. So I guess I'll accept him for that. That $2 million that we gave Marco for that year. Yeah, I guess it was worth it to get that win against the Pink Cows. But yeah, it's just crazy, to see Ernst Tanner hit on more players than not, and especially players that nobody knows about. And yeah, Casper had that great season in 2019 where it looked like he would score the most goals in a single season for the Union. It didn't happen. 2020 came. He got COVID, and he just didn't look like the same player. He scored some goals, but he missed a lot of easy goals that he was scoring in 2019. He looked sluggish at time on the ball. Sergio Santos, he's hit or miss. This season, I thought he was a lot better than he was in 2019. Hopefully, he can build on that going forward. But I'm with you. I mean, everybody wants that flashy striker. Everybody wants that 20-plus goal season striker. Hank, are you concerned at all? You trust Ernst? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I echo the same thing. I do trust Ernst. There's been a long history of the Union not signing players, so it's par for the course. But yeah, I mean, he's been able to develop people and pluck people like Wagner out of nowhere. So I do think he'll find his way. And then also see how some of the homegrowns like Fontana, or guys like Fontana, develop over the course of the year. See what they can do too. It's always exciting. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think they're well positioned, and I like Corey Burke a lot too. So I'm glad he's back. Give him a full season, back with the squad, and see what he can bring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a thing that a lot of fans too completely forget is Corey Burke missed more than half the season last season. When he came in, what did he do? He scored goals. And not only that, he scored crucial goals for the Union. It wasn't just like, okay, these are just whatever goals. Nah, he was scoring game-winning goals. His pressing, his pace was causing problems for opposing defenders. And he's a physical striker as well. And when you have a striker that's as fast as Corey Burke, that is physical. That's a defender's worst nightmare. And so I agree with you. That's a great shout that a lot of fans I think are just overlooking. That Corey Burke's going to make an impact with a full season here. He's in America. He doesn't have to worry about, okay, when am I going to get to America? When's my visa issues going to get worked out? His head can be fully concentrated on the Union season because he knows, okay, I'm playing for the Philadelphia Union. I don't have to worry about how am I getting to America or what team am I going on loan on. I know I'm going to be on the Union, and we saw him get rewarded with a contract extension in the offseason because, like I said, as soon as he came back from loan, once he was able to get in this country, he was scoring goals. So super excited to have Corey Burke back, but I definitely would like to get another number 10, another striker, and especially with the Champions League coming up soon. We have training, I think, this week starting up for the Union, if not the following week. So if you sign new players, you want them to get into training camp as early as possible so they can learn the system because, let's face it, a lot of players aren't fit out to play in a pressing system. So Ernst Tanner has to consider that and to figure out, okay, who's going to press where, playing in the diamond. It's not like, okay, we're going to sign what's his name, whoever, and we can throw him right into the lineup. Now, there's things that it's going to take them time to learn, going to learn the runs of your teammate and everything. So if and when we sign players, I hope it's sooner than later so they can just learn the system that Jim Curtin has in place with the team. But, let's go ahead and go into the final category, like I said, which is name the Union player. So in the final category, contestants will go head-to-head against one another, and guessing the Union player I'm describing, I'll give 5 clues, and contestants can buzz in whenever they think they know the player. Contestants will buzz in by saying their own name. If a contestant answers incorrectly, that will freeze them out until the next question. Each question will be worth 3 points each, except for clue 5, which is when I give you guys the player's first name. That will just give you 1 point instead of 3. Now remember, guys, the players I'm describing all played for the Union in 2016, but what I might describe might not have happened in 2016. So are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Player number 1 is a former Netherlands youth international.
Pat.
Good, Pat.
Roland Alberg.
Man, right on the first one. Yeah, it is indeed Roland Alberg. The other hints for that was eighth all-time on the Union's goal scorer list. Hint number 3 was scored their second hat trick in club history against Chicago Fire. Hint number 4 had a penalty spat with CJ Sapong in 2017 against Columbus. First name Roland. Roland Alberg is the player that gives you those 3 points right there, Pat. And let's go on to player number 2. Hint number 1, acquired from DC United.
Hank.
Good, Hank.
Pontius.
It is indeed Chris Pontius. So there we go, guys. You guys are getting in the first hint. It's really impressive. So, guys, off to
That's the
a
answer
flying
Pontius
start.
all day. I hope it works.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you picked up on that because I don't think people in the other episodes have picked up on that. The last couple of episodes, I've been talking about one player specifically, and then for guessing the player, they're going to be in there somewhere. And yeah, you're right. Chris Pontius, we've talked about him all day so far, and he was the second player I was going to describe to you guys, but the other hints for that was hint number 2, won MLS Comeback Player of the Year in the 2016 season. Hint number 3, scored a brace against Columbus in 2016. Gave you guys that hint earlier. Hint number 4, jersey number 13, first name Christopher. Chris Pontius is the player. Let's go on to player number 3, which is hint number 1, was the Union's 6th overall draft pick in the 2016 Super Draft. No name.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. Hint number 2 was first team All-American twice while he attended Creighton University.
Which university?
Creighton.
Hank. Fabian Herbers.
Yeah, it was indeed Fabian Herbers. The other hints for that were jersey number 14. Hint number 4 currently plays for Chicago Fire. And hint number 5, first name Fabian. Fabian Herbers is the player. So not bad at all, Hank. You're pretty hot right now. That's back-to-back players for you, but let's go on to player number 4. Hint number 1, 5th all-time on the Union's goal scorer list. Hint number 2, won a gold medal with Brazil in the 08 Olympics. Hint number 3, acquired from Shakhtar Donetsk.
Pat.
Good, Pat.
Elsinho?
It is indeed Elsinho. And I was thinking, do I want to leave Elsinho for the 2019? Do I want to leave him for 2020? I was like, you know what? Let me just throw Elsinho in here for 2016. So it is indeed Elsinho. The other hints for that was hint number 4, got the nickname Super Sub after his 2019 impact. And first name Ilson. Elsinho is the player. Now, guys, let's go ahead and go to player number 5, hint number 1. And Pat, with you getting that one correctly, Elsinho, that gives you 16 points, and Hank, you have 11. So no matter what happens here, Pat, you are going on, but we'll still give you guys player number 5. So here we go. Hint number 1 is a defender. Hint number 2, scored an equalizing goal against Orlando City in 2016. Hint number 3, 2015 USL Rookie of the Year finalist with Harrisburg City Islanders.
Pat.
Go ahead, Pat.
Keegan Rosenberg?
It is not Keegan. So, Hank, you have 2 more hints. Hint number 4, played for Nashville last season. And Pat knew it, and I'll give you the first name. First name, Ken.
Ken Trebet.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, there you go. So, gave you the 1 point and everything, but
Thank you.
Absolutely. Like I said before, I give you guys player number 5. Pat, once you got that Elsinho one, it was all done. But not bad at all.
Elsinho saved me again.
Yeah. But not bad at all, though, Hank, because, like I said, this is your first time on the show. I'm sure you were like, okay, how am I going to go? How am I going to do? Hopefully I don't get blanked out. And 12 points
Pretty much,
is it's impressive for your first time, so you got to be happy with that, but still to not advance does kind of sting, I'm sure. But like I said, you didn't get 0 on the board, so you got to look at the positives.
Yeah, no, I'm happy.
Absolutely.
Good battle.
Absolutely,
Good game.
absolutely.
Good game, man.
Pat, really impressive, especially that first category helped you out so much. I don't think anybody's went 8 for 10 at all in this series, and you could have went 10 for 10 if the buzzer wouldn't have went off. And Hank, you stood in there and you gave Pat a great challenge, and like I said, that Elsinho one pulled it over for you, Pat. But before I let you guys go, do you guys want to let people know where they can find you on social media? And I'll go to you first, Hank.
Sure. Twitter at MTHawk23. Not very exciting, but it's there.
Oh, nice.
Like Hank said, if you're into Philly sports, He's a 5 for 5 guy. Might be a
There
6
you
for
go.
6, might be a 7 for 7, but he's definitely the 5 biggest teams in Philadelphia. And Pat, where can people find you?
At Pat in the Hat 97. I think that's it. Yeah, 97
It is.
is Twitter.
Yeah, it is indeed Pat in the Hat. In the introduction, I called you Pat in the Hat just because I'm so used to seeing your Instagram name and your Twitter, and every time I see you like a post or something, I'm like, Pat in the Hat, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to call him, nope, don't call him Pat in the Hat. Don't call him Pat in the Hat.
You can call me that. It's fine.
But if you guys aren't following the podcast on social media, go ahead and follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Free Kick Pod. Check out the website, thefreekickpodcast.com. Wherever you get your podcasts, The Free Kick, Todd Lewis. And just congratulations again, Pat. Great showing, Hank, and I would love to get you onto the show sometimes during the season to either preview a game, talk about a game, whatever. Yeah, just thank you guys both for coming here today, and congratulations again, Pat. We'll see who you draw in the round of 8. Only 2 more games left to be played in the round of 16. And super excited, guys, to see how these last 2 games wrap up. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.